A lot of people have asked me, but Peter, how can we make our own custom traffic intersections? Today I'm giving you an answer. One quick note, everything I show in this video is made with version 1.5 of the Roads Must Roll. I'm also using the business license version here, which currently includes 12 extra vehicle types compared to the portfolio version. If you downloaded the tool a while ago, be sure to update to the latest version. I've added simple update instructions on the website, link in the description. Let's start with a simple symmetric 4-arm junction. Open a new empty Blender file. Since version 1.5, you'll find a Smart Import subcatalog in the Asset browser. Dragging that thumbnail into your 3D viewport imports all assets at once, except the preset traffic intersections. Important: when the pop-up appears in the bottom left corner, uncheck Instance, or you won't be able to edit individual parts. Importing all assets at the same time avoids duplicates of objects, node trees, and modifiers, saving space in your outliner and on your hard disk. When you want a variation of an asset, it's best practice to use Shift+D to duplicate the already imported assets instead of redragging from the Asset browser. First, let's build a single arm of the crossroad. Move all imported assets aside so you can work in the center of the scene. Create a straight road with 2 traffic lanes and disable the overhead signs. Then build a curve segment and turn off all side options on one side, like lampposts, signposts, trees, bike path, sidewalk, and the green strip. Don't worry, I'll show you how to make a more complex intersection later. What we can now do is duplicate this arm around the 3D cursor, which should be at the world origin. If the 3D cursor isn't visible, enable it in Viewport Overlays, 3D cursor. If it's not at the origin, press Shift+S and choose Cursor to World Origin. Set the Transform Pivot Point to 3D Cursor in the top menu. Let's make sure the straight piece of road is aligned with one of the scene's axes. Select the straight piece and in the top menu, go to Object, Set Origin, Origin to Center of Mass, Volume. This centers its origin. In the N panel's Item tab, set the X location to 0. In Top View, snap the curved piece of road onto the straight, so it connects cleanly. Let's put the objects of this arm into a new collection for better organization. In the outliner, select the Scene collection to ensure newly created collections go inside it. Select both objects, press M, and create a new collection named Crossroad-Arm-A. Now we'll duplicate that collection 3 times and rotate each collection instance around the 3D cursor. Press Shift+A and at the bottom of the menu choose Collection Instance. Search for Crossroad-Arm-A and click on it. A new collection instance is created. You'll see a special icon in the outliner. This is the collection instance. Rotate this instance 90 degrees in the top view. Select it again and copy it by pressing Shift+D. Then use a right-click on your mouse to leave it in place. Rotate it 90 degrees. Repeat this one more time until you have all 4 arms of your crossroad. But this doesn't look right. No worries. Any edits to the original collection propagate to all instances, so select the objects in the original arm collection and tweak the position of the objects to align the segments. Keep the straight road parts aligned on the axes. For the curved pieces of road, go into Edit mode by pressing the Tab key and adjust the control points. If surfaces look odd because they have the exact same height on the z-axis, you can fix it by raising two curve points by a few millimeters along the z-axis. Voila, a clean intersection. We still have a big hole in the middle and road markings to fix. Go find the imported asphalt patch asset and make a copy. Place it a few millimeters under the road surface and adjust its shape in edit mode if necessary. A quick tip, you can modify its settings in the modifier panel. Everything is procedural and tweakable. For the white lines on the asphalt surface, select the curved piece of road from the original crossroad arm collection and go to the modifier panel. Go to the panel called Lines, on-off per line, and disable line 1 and line 2. Make a copy of the Road Lines Maker asset. Add it to the original crossroad arm collection by pressing the M key. Make it a full line in the modifier panel. Adjust its position on the z-axis so it sits just above the asphalt surface. Edit the curve points in edit mode to fill the gaps. Next up, zebra crossing, stop lines, and traffic lights. Make copies of the appropriate assets. Add them to the original crossroad arm collection by selecting them and using the M key. You can see that they are now also visible in the 3 collection instances. Place them in the positions you want. Adjust the curves to define the length and the shape. Place the traffic lights in their correct position. To create a gap in the white lines and give the zebra crossing more space, go to the modifier panel and use the panel called Lines, Gap in Shader. Do you want only the opposite arms to be symmetrical rather than all 4? Let's delete 2 of the collection instances in the outliner by right-clicking on them and selecting Delete Hierarchy. In the outliner, right-click the original Crossroad Arm A collection and choose Duplicate Collection. Rename the new collection to Crossroad Arm B. Make sure the 3D cursor is at the world origin and the transform pivot point setting is set to 3D cursor. Double-click the collection icon in the outliner to select it, then rotate it 90 degrees from the top view. Press Shift+A and at the bottom of the menu select Collection Instance. Choose Crossroad Arm B. Rotate it 180 degrees in the top view. Now edits to Arm A affect only the 2 opposite arms, and edits to Arm B affect the other 2. This makes it easy to customize the traffic intersection asymmetrically. I quickly arranged all the elements correctly so we can continue working on this partially asymmetrical traffic intersection. Each road object has not only a Road A modifier applied to it, but also a Road A traffic modifier. This traffic modifier adds vehicles to that specific piece of road. If you want smooth traffic flow across multiple segments, disable vehicle traffic on individual road objects. Instead, use the traffic animation asset I also included in the package. Tip: to make changes to multiple road objects at once, select them all, hold the Alt key, and uncheck the Vehicles On/Off setting in the modifier panel. This will update the setting for all selected objects. Go to the assets we imported earlier and make a copy of the traffic animation asset. Place it so that its wheels are correctly aligned with the road. By default, you'll see low poly vehicles in the viewport and high poly vehicles in the production render. You can adjust this under the vehicle's level of detail setting in the modifier panel. To shape the traffic curve, enter Edit mode by pressing Tab and control the curve points. Adjust its direction, speed, density, and other parameters in the modifier panel. Want a row of vehicles standing still at a traffic light? Simply set the speed value to 0 in the modifier panel. This setup creates the impression of complex traffic flow. It is not a full simulation with vehicles responding to their environment. However, this approach is fast and effective. Most viewers won't scrutinize the traffic patterns closely enough to notice whether they fully comply with traffic laws. For roads that also change height, it can be tricky to get the traffic curve to behave correctly when you use the traffic animation asset. Here's my method for making this easier. First, duplicate the existing road object using Shift+D. Remove all modifiers applied to the curve. Then, add a new geometry nodes modifier and choose the node tree named AA, the RMR traffic animation separate asset. It is important that you choose exactly this node tree. Position the traffic so the tires touch the asphalt. In the modifier panel, choose one or more lanes depending on your setup. This curve now follows elevation changes perfectly. You can then extend the curve into the rest of the intersection, as you can see me doing here. Now that you've got the basics down, I'll go a bit faster. To explore more complex lane configurations, let's reverse engineer one of the included presets. Let's import preset 002 and make sure to uncheck Instance in the small pop-up window that appears in the bottom left corner. Otherwise, you won't be able to edit the individual parts. Note that I've created several empties that are linked to the different components of the intersection using a parent-child relationship. Let's start by removing 3 of the 4 arms of this intersection so we can study one arm more closely. Next, I'll take all the components apart so you can see how I assembled this traffic intersection. As you can see, I've placed a road segment in the center where I've disabled all the side strip options. No sidewalk, bike lane, or green strip. Then I added road segments on both sides, shaping them into an S-curve to widen the road. I've disabled most of the white lines on these road segments in the settings in the modifier panel. After that, I used the Road Lines Maker asset, which is included with the roads must roll, to make the white lines follow the correct curve and to fine-tune their placement. The white arrows on the road were placed using the included Road Surface Markings asset. As with all my assets, you can adjust their settings in the modifier panel. For the pedestrian crossings and bike crossings, I used the included asset made for that purpose. In the center, I used the Asphalt Patch asset to create a large asphalt area. I made it larger by scaling it in Edit mode. To do this, press the Tab key. And of course, you also have the traffic lights and specific traffic signs. If you're looking for inspiration, you can import and dissect any of the 12 presets I included with The Roads Must Roll in the same way. If you want to create an on-ramp or off-ramp on a bridge, the workflow is slightly different. Let me use preset 801 as an example. As you can see, I used a very similar system here to the one I just showed for a regular intersection. If you want to cut off one side of the bridge, so you can connect 2 bridge segments together, go to the Settings and open the Bridge, General Settings panel. There you can choose to toggle the left or right side of the bridge on or off. Here too, I turned off most of the white road markings and instead used the Road Line Maker asset. The piece of asphalt with white stripes was made by shaping the asphalt patch asset in edit mode and adding faces to it. I then positioned the white arrow lines right using the settings in the modifier panel. Here I used a split sign asset. And here I used the road barriers asset to connect the two crash barriers. Let's take a closer look at how roundabouts are constructed. To make things clearer, I'll start by deleting 3 of the 4 arms. This simplifies the view and helps us focus. Next, I'll pull the different components apart so we can examine how each part fits together. As you can see, the circular section is made using a Bezier circle, with the Road A main modifier applied. For info, you can create a Bezier circle by pressing Shift plus A and going to Curve Circle. In the settings, I also enabled a sidewalk on the inner side using small concrete tiles. The central green island is made with the island asset, which you can also find among the imported assets. The on and off ramps are 2 curved road segments where the side strips are turned off on one side. To avoid visual artifacts caused by overlapping surfaces at exactly the same height, I make sure to offset the objects slightly on the z-axis, just a few millimeters apart. In the middle, I used another island asset to separate the 2 road segments. A quick note on a possible use of the path asset. If a turn is very sharp, the curves forming the outer side strips might not have enough space to form properly. There is a solution for this. First, disable the outer side strip. Use the imported paths asset and make it a bit wider in the settings if needed. Lower the resolution of the curve if necessary. Then shape the curve in edit mode so it fits over the missing section. Let's say you want to change the asphalt material on all the road segments in this intersection. You don't have to change them one by one. Select all the road segments and change the material while holding the Alt key. You can use this method for almost all settings. Suppose you want to quickly create a grid of roads with intersections, for example, as a base for a city. You can use collection instances for this, just like we discussed earlier. This workflow will save you a lot of time. You can also create collection instances with slightly different intersections to add more variation to the whole setup. Here you can see the animation as I play it in the viewport. If you want to avoid vehicles suddenly disappearing and reappearing at certain points, you can simply place the traffic animation asset on top of the intersections. This way, everything moves in a continuous flow. A quick note on why I chose a modular system using different procedural assets. I could have made the traffic intersections fully procedural as well, so that the connections between roads are generated automatically based on a mesh, for example. But that approach quickly becomes too complex, simply because of the huge variety in intersection designs. Some have bike lanes, sidewalks, or green strips. Others include extra lanes, flared entries, or have 3, 4, or even 5 connecting roads. Trying to cover all those possibilities with one procedural system would be extremely difficult and limiting. That's why I chose a modular approach instead, where you manually combine different parts. This gives you the freedom to build almost any type of intersection, while keeping things flexible and manageable. If you're watching this video in the future, it's possible that some features, menus, or assets have been updated or have been added since the time of recording. However, the core principles I explain here will still apply. You can find an overview of the latest updates on the website. There's a link in the description. Through my online poll, you can also let me know which features you'd like to see added to the roads must roll in the future. Oh, and at the bottom of the video, you'll find some buttons you can click if you'd like to see more videos like this one.